Barmanghat to Sandia. Of the Hindu trinity Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, the least regarded is Brahma. Mankind, deeply afraid of death, is greatly devoted to Shiva, Lord of destruction. Vishnu, the preserver, takes care of us, so neither he nor his incarnations, Rama and Krishna, lack worshippers. Brahma is the Lord of creation. His creation done, what use is he to us? So he is the most neglected of the trio. I was pleased that this place was named after Brahma, Brahmanghat, now known as Barmanghat. We are in Little Burman, opposite the larger Burman town, which has quite an extensive waterfront. Between these two places, the Narmada splits into two streams. With a large island in the middle, we had arrived in the dark of night, so we didn't notice it. Now it could be seen clearly. We had never seen such a large island in the river before. Today is the 11th day of the moon's phase. There are crowds of people on both banks, taking a holy dip. Every 11th day, the full moon and moonless days are celebrated in Burman in some manner or the other. The main event here, which goes on for a month, is the festival of Sankrant in the month of January. It may well be the biggest festival along the banks of the Narmada. We left in the afternoon with a village man. The path along the top of steep cliff was narrow, treacherous and slippery. "This is really dangerous," I said. Once a holy man slipped here, fell straight into the river. And then? He knew how to swim, got out all right. He lost all his stuff though. People gave him more things. He was off the next day. Didn't stop. We reached Badia in a little while and decided to stay there. It was suddenly much colder. We lingered beside the fire. Seeing cow dung cakes, Pandit was inspired to cook rolls. Now he could make wonderful rolls. We were off in the morning. On the way there were fresh tomatoes at a farmer's house, so we bought some. His wife was just milking the buffalo, so we bought milk too and drank it on the spot. Moments ago, the milk was inside the buffalo. Now it was inside us. This could be yet another definition of man, one who is an expert in extracting things from others to fill his own stomach. Tell us if you have any relatives on our route. We can give your news to them. We offered the farmer. He replied, "I have a relative by marriage in Dhana. His name is Dhannu. You will find his house at the beginning of the village, with lots of guava and lemon trees. Tell him all is well here." We reached Dhana in the afternoon and made our way to Dhannu's house. Dhannu's father, a 90-year-old man, met us at the door. I gave news of his relatives and added, "If there was room in their house, could we please stay the night? Otherwise we would go further." On hearing this, the old man exclaimed, "What's that you said? If there's no room, you will go further? Ram Ram, what a thing to say! How can there not be place in the house? You came here with news of our relatives. Of course there will be room for you. Daughter-in-law, sweep the front yard. spread a rug and bring cool water. We have guests. Old and frail, nearly blinded by cataracts, he wore glasses secured around his ears with strings. He was as happy as if his own grandsons had come. A boy picked guavas from a tree for us. The daughter-in-law of the house set a cooking hearth plastered with white clay in the yard and stacked cow dung cakes and firewood beside it for us. A large pitcher of water was provided, along with aubergines and tomatoes. When the daughter-in-law came to know we were going to Sandia, she was overjoyed as her parents' home was there. This clay you have plastered the hearth with, where do you get it from? I asked. Her face still demurely veiled, she replied, We get it hereabouts. It takes some digging. You are going to Sandia. I will give you some. Do give it to my mother. This clay is not available there. Smiling at his daughter-in-law's innocence, the old man said, These people will be going along the river bank, so it will take quite some time to get there. Besides, they are already so weighed down with luggage. How will they carry clay? Dannu came back from his fields after dark, his young son with him. That night we were given space to sleep beside the fire, so we slept well. In the morning, the fact that we declined the rice and flour being offered to us and instead cooked our meal using our own rations upset the old man very much. As we prepared to leave, he peered at us affectionately with his almost blind eyes. We reverently bowed our heads to his feet and took our leave. The way went through fields. There was something very uplifting and peaceful about the fields spreading far into the distance. The subtle scent of fields of Pigeon peas, drenched in dew, delighted us. Crops reaped in spring and autumn were both growing in the fields. The parallel lines of tiny plants made the fields look like a huge scroll on which the earth had written in green ink that in 4 months' time she would repay human beings 24-fold. No mother can be so generous to her children. As we sat resting under a mango tree, Sathe noticed balloon-shaped objects in the tree. Taking a closer look, we realized that they were red ants' nests. Leaves and twigs had been joined together with some wax-like substance, so skillfully that not a drop of rain could get in. Out of curiosity, I made a little hole in one of the balloons. There were tiny apparents inside. Of these, some might be ordinary rooms, some vaulted rooms, domes, perhaps even a community hall. We saw some ants gather around the hole to inspect the damage. Within moments, the area where the hole had been made was sealed so carefully that no trace remained. It was, after all, just a leafy nest, yet it was a remarkable piece of architecture. The temple at Bhatera is on the riverside. Our worries disappeared once we got a room there. A big ferry plied across the Narmada here. A block cart was being transported across by the boat. Half the cart was in the boat and half in the water, passengers and bags of grain in the middle, and bullocks in the corner. A single boatman, with the aid of a bamboo pole, ferried the motley crew from one bank to the other. The temple priest had no family. His niece came over by boat from the opposite shore to cook for him. In the course of conversation, he told us, about 10 years ago an old man on the pilgrimage was staying in this room. He contracted a high fever and, before he could be treated, he died. It was Holi that day. Quite a crowd had gathered here. News spread through the festival that the old man had died. The festive crowd melted away. I was left all alone with the body. The Kotwar had gone to the Gadarwara police station to report the death. I didn't have the courage to sleep here alone, so I went to the village. The next day, the Kotwar came at midday. There was an inquest, and then the funeral took place. The old man's address was in his bag, so I sent word to his family. They came for the funeral, crying and wailing. I wondered how it would feel to die in a distant place, far from friends and family. Dying is not a pleasant experience. Yet, to die in one's own home, surrounded by family, is perhaps more comforting. Nobody wants to die in a strange place, even in the best of hospitals. A hospital is all right for birth, but death should come at home. When we awoke the next morning, the courtyard of the temple was crowded with men, women, and children. Some were sleeping in the open, wrapped in quilts. Others were warming themselves by fires. Ox carts were standing nearby with oxen tethered around the edges. These people had gathered to participate in the festival to celebrate the first full moon of the winter. All along the banks of the Narmada, there were going to be thousands of such festive gatherings. Our next destination was Sokalpur, where there was going to be a huge festival. Pandit and I were walking ahead. Sathe and Dulhani lagged behind. We usually walked together, now and then splitting up and meeting again. Not today, though. We stopped occasionally, waited for them to catch up, and when they still did not appear, we carried on. As we approached Sokalpur, the crowds, brightly dressed groups of laughing, happily chattering people going to the festival, thickened. Everyone was cheerful, carefree, filled with the joy of living. I seemed to be the only person weighed down with worries. We reached Sokalpur at noon. The festival is celebrated at the confluence of the Sakkar River and the Narmada. There were dense crowds on both banks, creating a joyous chaos. Sathe and Dulhani still had not reached, so I was looking out for them. They could not have crossed the Sakkar yet, so we sat there. I told Pandit, "You go and look around the festival crowd. They may have arrived already." Pandit came back alone about an hour later. I grew more uneasy. Just then all the boats began to converge at one spot. Fishermen cast their nets. Divers plunged into the river. Word went round that 2 young men had drowned while bathing, and the divers were trying to save them. My heart fell. I cursed myself. Why had I left Sathe and Dulhani behind? What difference would it have made if I had waited for a while longer? Unable to bear the suspense, I headed towards the police station to make enquiries. I waded into the Sakkar and came face to face with Dulhani. It was as though the sun had emerged to dispel the darkness. Sathe had been sitting beside their bags on the other bank while Dulhani looked for us in the crowd. Together at last we sat on a high cliff and watched the festival. The men who had drowned were 2 brothers. The divers had managed to save the younger brother, but the elder one was still missing. The air was rent with the piteous cries of the women of their family. It was unbearable. We stayed the night at the Sanskrit school. There we heard the whole story. A family had come to the festival from a nearby village. Since they didn't know how to swim, they stayed on the opposite bank where there is sand and the river is shallow. The two brothers were bathing when suddenly the younger brother's foot sank into quicksand. He was stunned. There had been nothing on the surface to suggest that it was dangerous. The more he struggled to get out, the deeper he sank. He yelled for help. His elder brother ran to get him out and was swallowed by the quicksand. He was a third-year student at the engineering college at Vidisha. Sometimes death comes like a thief in the dark of the night and seizes its prey in the twinkling of an eye. Until that day, we had believed sand to be safe. It was then that we realized the dangers of quicksand. We left in the morning with heavy hearts. The waning moon lingered above the horizon, as if at half-mast. We arrived at Khiraiti at midday. As we began to prepare for lunch, we realized that we needed a fresh supply of water. There was a wide expanse of sand between us, and the current was hugging the far bank. The river invariably flowed away from us when we needed water. Two women were returning from the river. One of them was carrying water in a jug to take to the temple. I thought, if we had this jug full of water, we could put the dal to cook. I asked that woman for the water and she gave it at once. A little water, a man with a similar jug full came along. I hoped he would also give us water, but with a hasty, I have to offer water at the temple, he went on his way. Sister, that day you did not offer water to the Lord, but my heart says there was no interruption in your service to him. A bullock cart could be seen coming from the river, carrying a huge drum of water and a smaller water container. The driver filled the container with water when I asked and gave it to us. Our problem was solved. We stayed at the village temple that night. As I fell asleep, I realized that December had begun. I had walked in October and November before and always wished to be on the pilgrimage in the chill of December, just once. My wish had finally come true. We set out in the morning and cooked lunch at the Dudhi Sangam temple. The Narmada was flowing close to the far bank again. Cutting into the broad sandy bed of the Narmada, the Dudhi swept towards the far side and joined her there. We crossed the Dudhi river and entered the Hosangabad district. I was reminded of the way we had been thrown into the Narsinghpur district with one kick. We spent the night at the Dharamsala at Khairaghat. We put our bags down on the veranda where a holy man was sitting. A woman sat at the other end of the veranda with her head bowed. She looked weary and depressed, as if she was recovering from a long illness. I recognized her as soon as she raised her head. It was that mother. We had almost forgotten the mother and son until then. "Where's your son?" He left me and went away. Her eyes flooded with unshed tears and her voice broke. It was extremely cold. We could not sleep properly even inside a room. I kept waking up every now and then. Once, when I woke up during the night, my eyes fell on the moon, visible through a hole in the roof. It had been a full moon 2 nights ago, but I had forgotten all about moonlight because of the cold. Now the deity had come to the devotee. I felt ashamed. Begging pardon, I gazed at this magician of the night sky. It was almost complete, only an edge had been partly clipped off. After a glimpse, it slipped away, and I, too, covered my face with my blanket. The cold had dimmed my perception of beauty. The Naga Baba, who belonged to a sect that endures extreme hardships, had lit a small fire to stay warm in the chill, but the woman had lain all night wrapped in an ordinary sheet. How could she have got any sleep? In the morning, the Naga Baba said to her, "Even animals and birds know what is good for them. If you had collected sticks in the evening and made a fire at night, then you would not have been chilled by the cold." The woman simply lay there, inert. All she said was, "My son left me and went away." I used to wake the others up every morning. Today, everyone woke up by themselves. Soon we would be arriving in Sandia, and this section of the pilgrimage would be over. Everyone was thinking of home. Sandia came into sight. The main stream of the Narmada, which had been on this side, veered over to the other bank, but a small stream continued to flow beside this bank. We walked alongside it. After a little while, I realized that this stream was not flowing down but up, which meant that it was another river, not the Narmada. That was the first time we saw two rivers flowing in opposite directions in the same riverbed. The name of this little friend of the Narmada is Anjani. She does not cross over the dry bed to join the Narmada on the far side, but flows parallel to meet her on this bank. It was there that we met the pilgrim son. We told him that his mother was depressed because he had left her and gone away. Mother and son had quarreled about something, and the son had stormed off in a rage. His anger cooled. He had realized his mistake and was going back for his mother. A temporary wooden bridge over the river was being built at Sandia. We bathed there, concluding the journey, and left for home. Before bidding farewell to the river, I said, "Mother Narmada, every morning I salute you when I wake up. But today I didn't do it. Today is the third day in December, my revered teacher Nandalal Bose's birthday. I learned art from him in Santiniketan. From him I learned to appreciate the beauty of nature. But for his teachings, it would have never occurred to me to do your parikrama. That's why I bow my head to my Guru first, as it was he who pointed me to you.